should just start with our unsolicited but thankful unsponsor of this podcast. What are they called? Am I just calling them sponsors or unsponsors?
Typically, you've called them sponsors.
Okay, there are. What's an unsponsor?
They're just not real.
Yeah, okay. Fake sponsor.
There it is.
Genuine fake. Do you know in Turkey, they have all these shops in Turkey, and they are just labeled genuine fakes. Like, that's what it says. They are just like unashamed of the fact that they're just like, these are fake, but they're genuine.
Hey, at
Like,
least they
we
own it.
copy them really, really well.
Yeah.
It's a great place to buy. That's where I got my Temple bag. It's like this briefcase. It was like this designer briefcase. They said, I don't know anything about designer brands. So I was like, oh, just took their word for it. And I actually like going to the temple with it. Like, it makes me want to go to the temple just because I have this bag. Welcome to Revival, a Good News Brand podcast.
I'm Stephan Taeger.
And I'm Dave Butler.
Here we focus on the good news.
3 headlines each about the thrill of being a person of faith.
We are so glad you're here.
Yeehaw! So the real life, genuine, fake sponsor of this episode is Korean food. Have you had Korean
I
food?
literally just had it last week. The place in Orem where they cook it in front of you.
Yeah.
It's called Yummies.
Yummies.
So good.
Listen, I served my mission in Korea,
Right.
for people who don't know. And it's just interesting that what I prayed so hard to love, like it was a trial for me when I was in Korea, you know? And I think part of it is because I was just so shocked from this new whatever.
Yeah.
That the things that I was so sad about at the beginning of my mission, I craved by the end. But it's just interesting, this thing that I genuinely prayed, Heavenly
What'd
Father,
you pray for?
change my stomach, make me like this because it's so gross. But now I'm paying for it. I'm actually genuinely paying for it, and I love it. And I feel like it's just taking the world by storm, and I'm really proud of Korea.
Yeah. What's a Korean dish you really like?
Oh, I love samgyeopsal. It's like this. It's like a thin meat rib thing that you do. Jaeukdap. It's like the spicy pork and so many that I love. I should have invented kutbap. I was positioned to introduce kutbap and Crocs to the world because those are both Korean, and I didn't.
Crocs are Korean?
Yeah, it's little grandma shower shoes in Korea, and now everyone wears them in sport mode. So. Anyways, Korea really should be the sponsor of this podcast. Look at them. Look how far. And now there's a direct flight from Salt Lake
Is there
to
really?
Incheon to Korea. It's just big. Korea is on the rise. That's what I'm trying to say. And I've been on this trend for 20 years. So welcome everyone else. Okay, our talk today is by Elder Vargas, our heavenly guidance system.
I loved this talk. Can I say something really quick?
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to read these talks word for word. Sometimes they just reading the whole thing, and it doesn't take long.
No,
it really
it's
doesn't
so
take-
fast. And I actually genuinely somehow we accidentally stumbled upon this find your 3 best headlines from it. I really like that practice.
Yeah.
I'll keep doing it the rest of my life. It's just a cool way to focus your mind on, hey, find your 3 best parts. There's something about it that just makes me a little bit more open to it as I read and amen to that. They're great. They're great. Okay, we ready? Speaking of our 3 favorites. Okay, here we go. Go
Here's
ahead.
my number 3. Elder Vargas, he speaks about a time when he was teaching in church and something happened. There was a little bit of what he calls an unsettling conversation arose and whatever that means.
Everyone knows what that means. We've all been there.
We've all been there. And he says, he was going to leave the door and never come back to church, or at least not come back for a while, is what he says, right? And he says, at that very moment.
I just remembered a time I made that same vow.
Really?
Yeah. I was 14, and they made me lead the music in opening exercises of priesthood meeting. And I was so embarrassed, I ran out after the first verse. I was I'm never coming back to this church.
When did you come back?
The next week. But we keep going to the story because kind of something similar happened to me. And you better be using the line, I think, because this is my same one, but go ahead.
Okay, he says, at that very moment, a concerned priesthood holder stood in front of me. He lovingly invited me to focus on Christ and not on the situation we had experienced in class. As I looked back on the experience with him, he shared with me that he heard a voice tell him, "Go after him. He is important to me." Here's the good news. The good news is that Often in moments when we are feeling anger or contention or despair, the Lord will send us a little way out. And it often will be subtle and a small invitation. But the good news is that if we just notice it and act on that and step into it, it will lead to healing. Almost always not instantly. But if you notice that when you're angry or sad or in despair, something very subtle will happen, an invitation, either from someone else, often from someone else, or an invitation to do something or say something. And if we just walk along that path, it will lead to wholeness. I mean, that phrase, go after him, he is important to me. So Jesus doesn't just save us from sin. Of course he does that, but he also saves us from troubling situations. And again, it's gradual, but he will be there to fix, to heal, to redeem, to take us out of those situations.
Yeah. I'm so captured by that line that God whispered to that other brother, go after him. He's important to me. That's so sweet. And his next line, I think, in the talk is, God would say that about every single one of us. There's something so sweet about that. I'm so drawn to like a rescue type of thing. And that maybe feels too dramatic to call this a rescue, but it just, I love that so much. And it's interesting that you're talking about just those simple invitations that will come. I was thinking about that, the story in the scriptures about the brass serpent and how it says, because of the easiness of the way, so many people neglected it. And it's so funny, you read that and you're just like, that's so dumb of you. You have this problem and a poison's growing in you and the solution is so easy. Why don't you just take that really easy solution? It was like, and they said because of how simple it was, people neglected it. And I've often thought, you're so dumb. And then as I was driving in the car, I kind of was like, I bet I could fall into that so easily. That if I felt like my world was sort of falling apart and somebody said to me, it was like, well, just pray. I'd be like, boo, like I was like, that is such a dumb answer. I could see myself thinking that. And anyways, you said something while you were talking that just reminded me of that little conversation I had with myself as I was driving. I think there's what initially feels too elementary is actually the beauty of the gospel. What initially feels like the simplicity makes it, passable. But I actually think that's the beauty of it, where it's just like, wait, it's simpler than you think. It's not as complicated as you think it is. And I think there's something profound. And that's good news. That it's like, it doesn't take much. Right?
Yeah. I think often one of the ways you can recognize that is it will be an act towards kindness and humility, particularly both of those. If you feel a little nudge towards love and and let the ego die a little bit and just what is true, what is good, what is kind here. For some reason, it will often come through the kindness of someone trying to help in their own broken way. And right now we live in a culture where we can be pretty judgy of the way people try to offer help. We have all these rules for what counts as good listening or bad listening.
Yeah.
And just let that go. Like let someone's broken way of trying to reach out, let it count.
Yeah.
Let it work upon you.
Just let it be kindness.
Right.
Let the effort be kindness instead of like, oh, you're just doing this because you feel like you have to, or I don't want to be a project. And you're like, how about we just label that nice instead?
Yeah.
I also really am back to my serpent again. How that was actually the advice that the man gave to Elder Vargas. He's like, get your eye off the poison and put it on Jesus. We're always going to have poisonous situations. That's right. Our whole story started with a snake, right? The problem. So it's like they will always have a poison apple. I don't know if you call the fruit in the Garden of Eden poison, but I just did. But I was like, there's going to be problems of mortality, and we can focus on them and just feed the flame of it, or we can put our eyes on Jesus, and he's healing in that way.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like he doesn't just heal us of our sins, but can heal us of our bitterness and whatever happens when we feel like we've been mistreated, the compound of all of that. It seems too simple, but that's how powerful the love and character of Jesus are. he says, fix your eyes on me, fix your heart on me, and watch what falls out of your life, and watch what like burns up out of your heart, the dross that's in your heart. Watch what happens.
Yeah, that's excellent. Awesome.
So we had the same one. Good job,
Okay.
us. Okay,
So,
number 2.
So am I back at number 2 then?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
I had 5 to pick from, but I just decided I was going to keep that one because I loved it so much. It needed a 2 for 1.
So I study words and language. I love to write. This is one of those quotes.
Nerd. Just kidding. Same.
But this is one of those things that I really wanted to read it and not say anything because it captured an emotion for me that goes beyond words. But I'm going to say something.
Okay, I was going to say, and should I try to not say something because I don't know if that's possible, but I'm going to try.
So I thought of a way to maybe bring something up, but this is actually from paragraph 15, and the church actually numbers these now. And so on the church's app, does yours?
Yeah. Well, in the print up. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Great. Yeah. So this is number 15 on the official church one. What number is it on yours?
Well, the problem is the headings are labeled. So like
I
our
see.
divine nature and destiny has a number, so it's going to be off by a few, but not much. Okay.
Great. All right, doesn't matter. All right.
You start it and I'll tell you where it is in mine.
In November 1956.
Oh yeah, 17 in the print off. If you have the free PDF. If you have the PDF print off, it's 17. Okay.
Okay. In November 1956, Ricardo Garcia entered the waters of baptism in Chile, becoming the first member of the church in my country. Just one day before he died, he declared before his family and friends, "Many years ago, missionaries invited me to be happy along with my family. I am a happy man. Tell everyone in Chile the gospel is happiness." That's all I wanted. I just wanted to be done after that. I didn't want to say.
You wanted to tell everyone in Chile. Go tell the whole country.
Yeah, and what better definition of success or meaningful life than that image right there?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this is what I want to say about it. Why was this man so happy? I think it could be, if we're not careful, embracing the gospel could be another way to just try to find joy or try to find happiness. And in and of itself, that's not a problem. But if we're not careful, we could start to use the gospel as a product to just get good feelings, right? And
I see, yeah.
And I want to be really careful about how I say that. So watch what made this man happy. This is what it says next. After having been nourished with the gospel of Jesus Christ, Ricardo dedicated his entire life to serving God and his neighbor with love. His example of discipleship has blessed generations, including me. The reason why the gospel leads to happiness is because it takes us outside of ourselves, not for the sake of it, but for the sake of love. The gospel's love of God and love of others. And Christian communal life is training in how to do that well.
Yeah.
And so that's why he lived so much happiness, is because, as Jesus said, if you lose yourself, you will find it.
Yeah. This is something I think about a lot. And I actually gave this advice to somebody, and I can't remember who it was recently, because it was great advice that was given to me. If you find a purpose that's bigger than you, the byproduct of that will actually end up being happiness. If you're seeking for happiness, it feels elusive.
Right.
But if you seek for a purpose and it's something that's bigger than you, and I love that the way you just described that we don't give things up or subdue the natural man for the sake of subduing the natural man, but we give things up in order to make room for a greater cause.
Love.
Yeah, for love's cause, which I think is so awesome.
I can't remember if I've said this on here, but I recently came across a study. and it had these participants watch a film where they would try to like really enjoy it, really like get something and like really like it and make themselves happy on some level, okay? And then they asked people to just watch it, and they didn't tell them to really try to get something out of it. And the people who weren't trying actually got more out of it. And the people who really were, I think, if I remember correctly, they even reported like a decrease in trying to find joy. And so, I mean, in happiness there.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful. I think you can seek joy. I think you can seek goodness and love.
Yeah.
But it has to be.
It can all be synonymous. Yeah.
Right. But it has to be done out of love. It can't be done out of, ultimately, I just want to feel better.
Again, this is actually it's so simple. I really do love Jesus made it so simple when he's like, oh, this is easy. Just love God and love people and chill out. even though I like a lot of studies, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, we overanalyze so much in our day, right? We do studies on everything. And it's just like, are we making ourselves crazy? I just want to say, Jesus is like, this is pretty simple. I love this dude. He's like, I'm a happy man. Go tell everyone that the gospel makes you happy. It's like actually pretty simple. Just like love your wife and kids and love your neighbor, pray, sing song. Just like, it just seems like I don't mean to demean people's problems or anything like that by saying that, but
sometimes the studies are really obvious. In fact, there were some friends from graduate school for a while, and we would share obvious studies that we had found. And it's things like, if you sleep a full night, you feel better during the day.
Wow. Every time a study like that comes out, I'm just like, how much did that cost? Because you owe me that money. I could have told you that without you spending any of that money. So like, you could have just come to me. I would have told you.
That wasn't a real study, but it felt like hopefully no one's doing that one. But maybe they have. But it was stuff adjacent to that. And you're kind of like, did we really need someone to tell us that?
Yeah. I remember one time there being a study in seminaries and institutes, and it came out. And it was like, this was a 5-year, however expensive the study was. And I was like, I could have told you all that without. It's just like, what do students like? They love to be encouraged. They love hope. They love
relevant.
Yeah, you're like, well, thank you. I'll stop doing the mean, irrelevant ones. That phrase, by the way, reminded me of Jack's friend, who, P.S. at the time of this recording, Jack is coming home in like 3 days from his mission, and I'm so excited.
How do you feel?
I'm so excited, and then I'm sad about Christian leaving. So I really am. I don't know how to handle my emotions right now, but I'm super, super excited.
Okay,
for
real
Jack
fast,
to
real
come
fast.
home.
What are you guys doing for him when he comes home?
Like, what do you mean, like a party?
What's going on?
I don't know. This is like a pressure. It's my first one. You got to set traditions. You got to I don't want to, just banners, all the things.
Okay,
just bring him home, and he wants to go to eat right when we get home. So let's do that. I don't know where, but
where does he want to go?
Anywhere American. That's what he said. He's like,
Texas Roadhouse.
It probably will be. He loves that place.
Let that boy get whatever he wants on that menu.
But so Jack's friend, Guy, who's also coming home a week later. I can't wait. That whole group of boys, I'm so excited for them to come home. Some of them have already started, but he, in his farewell talk, he just said, like, he was just kind of speaking off the cuff or whatever. And he's just like, I'm just going to take happy to their hearts. And I was like, that is the best description of missionary work I've ever heard. Take happy to their hearts. All right, my number 2. Am I number 2? It's this line, 26 or something near it if you're on the phone. Thanks to Jesus Christ, there are hope and well-founded reasons to continue. And I love that phrase, both of them. I'm such a hope guy, That sounded weird to say, but I really, that might be one of my favorite gospel principles. If you call it a principle, I don't even know what you call it. I'm so endeared to the idea of hope and something better, but I like that line that's with it, and well-founded reasons to continue. That it's not just, there isn't just wishful thinking, or it's not on a whim. I have well-founded reasons to keep going, and to keep trying, and to keep loving, and to keep praying, and to keep believing, and to keep hoping. Like, the story of Jesus provides well-founded reasons to stay in belief, and to stay in hope, and to stay in love. One of those is the resurrection story itself, right? The central story of our faith. That there are witnesses that Jesus did the impossible, that he overcame and was victory, and changed. It made something irreversible reversible. And that's a well-documented reason. And that story, it's a well-founded reason for me to keep believing and to keep trying. Probably that's the central one, but don't you think that's awesome? Like, I want to ask people, what are your well-founded reasons that you keep doing what you're doing, that you keep going, you keep loving, you keep believing, and people have them?
Yeah. The way I would say it is that your theology is wrong if, and I know this doesn't sound very encouraging, but, but your theology is wrong if you think something can permanently go wrong. Someone's theology is wrong if they just settle for kind of goodness or kind of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And until the story that we have in our minds is infinitely better than we can even imagine, it's not right yet, because God raised Jesus from the dead. Even sin and death lost in the end. And so that's why we have reason to hope.
Yeah. So good. All right. Number one.
All right. And my number one: danger, disappointment, temptation, and affliction will test our faith and spiritual strength. Ask for help. Jesus Christ understands and is always eager to share our burdens.
Bro, we keep picking the same ones.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Don't worry, I have another one.
That
I have a backup.
that phrase, eager to share our burdens. First of all, the word always, then the word eager, and then the word share our burdens. This gets again into a realm of language that I can't put into words, but there is something about someone who comes into your space, who comes into your suffering and says, let me feel that alongside with you. And that's exactly what Jesus did. He came into this world and he learned exactly what it meant to be tempted, to be tired, to be persecuted, to be forgotten, to be misunderstood. Jesus experienced all of those things. And so in that sense, he comes into our space. He comes into our world and understands us perfectly. I don't know why that's so healing and affirming.
Yeah, but it really is.
It really is. And so one of the most beautiful things we can do in the midst of difficulty is say, Father, will you be here with me through thy spirit or through any other means? And there are some scholars who read Jesus walking on water and coming to the disciples in the middle of the night. And if you read the Greek, it literally means they're being tortured and rowing. And Jesus says, I am. Who is? And they're wondering who it is. And he says, I am. And there's other subtle hints that Jesus is pointing to the fact that he's divine, that he's the Son of God, right? And what some scholars think that story is trying to teach us, that in the midst of difficulty and trial, God is somehow there. He is present with us. And so look for that. Notice it. You will see his hand. And just knowing that he's there with you, sharing in that burden, will bring healing.
And the thing that I really loved about that I wrote down was the phrase where he said, ask for help. Like that's the phrase that I highlighted. I love that he's eager. There's something different between somebody being willing and somebody being eager to help. And that's his character and that's his nature. I think often, it's interesting in that Capernaum, in that city, that you have two stories that always kind of stand as bookends to me. One is when Jesus heals the man with leprosy. And then the other is when he heals Peter's mother-in-law who's sick. I don't know what sickness she had. Could have been a headache. I don't know, but it feels smaller than leprosy, the way I read the story. And I just think it's interesting that sometimes our problems are too big. We think this is too big to go to Jesus with. And other times we'll say, this is too small to go to Jesus with. The problem with both of those is it prevents us from going. And I think there's a reason that the invitation to ask and seek and knock is the most repeated invitation. That's Jesus's most given sermon, is ask for help. And it's so simple that we just almost forget to do it. And there's something sweet about not only his availability, but his eagerness too. He's like, just ask for help. I don't know how many times I had to learn this lesson as a teacher, where I would it was wild, where I would just about to go in to teach a lesson. And I bet I'm 50-50 on this. The 50% of the time before I went in, I prayed. And the other 50% of the time I didn't. And it's I don't know why that number did not increase over time because of what happened. I just ask for the strength, ask for the patience, ask for the forgiveness, ask for the hope, ask for the belief. He is not only willing, but eager to answer that prayer. And to me, that's great news. He said, I'll be with you in it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
So that's reviving. That's good. Well, what? You would say something else?
I was just going to say the image that Jesus puts into our mind of the Father is first and foremost the cross. And also in a story he tells, the parable of the prodigal son, that father runs out to that boy, runs out to him.
Before he does anything.
He
doesn't ask and say sorry. He doesn't like the first move.
Before he can read his resume.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That father runs out to that boy.
Oh, I need that painting in my house.
Amen.
Someone's got to do a really, really good one. All right. Okay, that's Revival. See y'all next week. Man, I hope you feel thrilled and revived with the good news and the thrill of faith. If you want to find more, go to goodnewsbrandco.com. You can check out our Instagram, Good News Brand Co. We also have an app where we include all the podcasts and all the freebies and all the gives there. Just trying to fill your life with some good news. We'll see you next week.